Joy News Prime.
Now tonight on Joy News Prime, Speaker of Parliament recalls the House to consider motion seeking an inquiry into the President's acceptance of a Ford vehicle gift and whether it constitutes grounds for its impeachment. The majority is either dismissing the motion as a waste of time and money. President Mahama's remission of the sentence of the 3 persons who were jailed for scandalizing the courts is also seeing another challenge. Aggrieved customers of defunct microfinance firm DKM in the Upper East region threatened to vote against the governing National Democratic Congress if they are not reimbursed funds they lodged with the company.
And in business, Ghana Gas is shut down for 10 days. The gas processing plant at Akwabo for routine maintenance works. Meanwhile, 35 workers who took part in a demonstration last week to demand appropriate safety systems have been prevented from going to work.
And traditional authorities at Old Tafo in Kumasi demand monies they use to feed security forces deployed there to keep the peace. But the Regional Coordinating Council says there was no such deal and so will not pay. My name is Israel Line. Joy News Prime is still the most comprehensive 2 hours of television news in Ghana. It is also available across Europe on ABN Television. Stay tuned. Now, Parliament could this Thursday witness a showdown involving majority and minority MPs over an argument of an urgent motion, which has compelled the Speaker to recall the members from recess. The recall follows a petition signed by 100 MPs calling for a committee to investigate whether President Mahama violated the Constitution in accepting a Ford expedition vehicle gift from a Burkinabe contractor. Jibril Kanazoy, in an interview with Joy News' Manasseh Zuria Wune, said he gave the gift to the president, whom he considers a friend. President Mahama has indicated though he accepted the gift, he made it available for use by the state. Minority Leader Oseche Mensah Bonsu, however, tells parliamentary correspondent Elton Brobe the president has more questions to answer.
When was the vehicle given? I mean, issues arise. When was the vehicle given? When was the decision taken to, give it a presidential pool? What evidence is there that is giving it a presidential pool? When did it happen? I mean, there are many lingering issues. And so it's not the face value of the issue that is put out there. And if it's not done anything untoward, that's exactly what we would want to find out. And if certain things have been done, which also go against the grain of truthfulness, or that the president conducted himself in a way that he shouldn't have, right? Then, of course, whatever is done would be to enhance our democratic governance. That is ultimately the issue that should concern us as a nation. We want to deepen democratic governance. So it should not be considered as personal against the president. Some people say that, oh, but this matter has been discussed. Discussed at what level? The Constitution provides us with avenues of addressing such matters. And so we thought that we should resort to the constitutional provision. In any event, when the president had the opportunity to address the same issue on 2 occasions at least, he has suggested that he's not done anything untoward, and people think otherwise. The Constitution provides a way for us to address the matter and is ever ready to answer to the issues.
But Deputy Majority Whip Ahmed Ibrahim tells Joy News that recall is in bad faith and a waste of public funds.
We were in Parliament when this issue emerged, and we are all aware that the issue is before track. We are all aware that the issue was highly debated. So if anybody wanted to do something, we were hearing it that the minority wanted to bring it, and we knew that they had no legal legs to tell us to be chasing these kind of issues because it would be like chasing the wind. So we said, this thing, the minority will not waste their time on this. So we went, even when we were supposed to go on adjournment, Synod, it was, some of people were of the view that we should have an extension because of the CI, the Electoral Commission's on. Yes, but seriously speaking, it was spearheaded by the minority that no, we could not go beyond the date that we were going to go on recess. And we realized that sometimes, even though democracy is the rule of the majority with the consent of the minority, sometimes you have to listen to their views as well. Therefore, when he said they could not go beyond a certain date, we had to give in. And we went on recess, only to even the instrument that is going to take into consideration the electoral principle and all those kind of things, we could not have time for it. You said, no, we could not go beyond that. And so, okay, if this is what you are saying, even the right information bill, you said, let's give ourselves some time so that we can pass the right information bill, then we can pass the electoral commission this. And they said, no, no way, we cannot go beyond this. We went on recess. We also thought that it will also not be right for us to camp your opponents while your president is up there campaigning.
So what is likely to happen on Thursday in Parliament, and what are the implications for this recall? Parliamentary correspondent Elton Brobe joins us in the studio with more. Good evening to you, Elton.
Good evening.
So how will this play out?
Well, on Thursday, as has been communicated by the Speaker of Parliament, members will be summoned to appear on the floor. Now, the lead petitioner, in this case I'm told is the minority leader himself, he will be given the opportunity to move his motion. Now, that motion will talk about the issues therein and the reasons why Parliament should set up a parliamentary probe to look into whether the president violated the Constitution in accepting the gift from this Burkinabe contractor. Now, what I'm guessing is that the majority side, somebody may rise to arrest the motion. Because from what I've been told, there's not been any kind of consensus on this particular matter leading to Thursday. So both caucuses are going into Thursday's meeting to articulate the views and aspirations of their caucus. So there's no room for compromise. For that reason, I'm looking at the situation where somebody from the majority side will rise, arrest the motion, and advance argument why it should not be being given the opportunity to be heard on the floor. After, the speaker is obviously going to allow arguments for and against. Eventually, he's going to stand in the middle and allow the House to determine how this motion should be handled.
Essentially, it comes down to
it will come down to vote, and this time it's about simple majority. So the side with the number of MPs on the floor on that particular day, after the head count is done and counted, those with the highest number will determine the fate of the motion that the minority is seeking to move on Thursday.
Which in this case, the majority has the numbers. And if they're able to marshal all their members to the House,
they'll be able to prevent the motion from being heard.
And
so
that'll be it.
That'll be it. So the details will not even come out. And obviously, after being able to block it from being heard up, the next thing will be for the minority to speak to the media and tell them what they wanted to raise on the floor.
Okay. Now, let's say for some reason the majority is unable to marshal the numbers, and the minority is able to get it through. What happens? That
will take us to the next stage. The next stage will be for the petitioner to now, articulate his concerns on the floor, and then call on members of Parliament to accept his recommendation. The recommendation will be for Parliament to set up an investigative body to investigate whether President Mahama violated the Constitution in accepting the gift. The House will have to vote to accept or reject the recommendation. If the recommendation is accepted, the Speaker will then have to put together a committee to investigate and then come up with their own recommendation.
Right.
The House will have to then come up with a resolution. The resolution will be passed on to the Chief Justice, and the Constitution says that once the Chief Justice receives that, you have to forward that to the President.
But they're not going to start the impeachment process at that point.
No. Once Parliament resolves that there is case for the President to answer, then that will be the basis for an impeachment. The Constitution says that the Chief Justice will then have to forward the case against the President. The President will have 2 weeks to respond to the Chief Justice. A tribunal officer will have to be put together for the impeachment procedure to go on. So it is not really a walk on the park. It's going to be a long process. First of it starting on Thursday.
Yeah. Now, what are the cost implications for this recall, and the reason why the majority is actually saying that it's a waste of taxpayers' money?
Very interesting. Now, because this is Parliament asking them to come out, they are on recess. They are supposed to be resting. Parliament is asking them to come out to consider an urgent bill, because the Constitution says that once more than 15% of MPs sign a petition, the Speaker has to summon them within 7 days. What I've been told, it depends on where your constituency is and the proximity of it to Accra. For example, the highest, I'm told, is Boko. So somebody from Boko to Accra will be given 2,000 Ghana cedis as fuel allowance. And then it will come down to the person in Accra. Those who are living outside of the country, and I know that some members of Parliament were out of the country, they came in last Saturday. Parliament had to buy the ticket for them to come in, because Parliament is the one asking them to come in.
Wow.
My information is that you are looking at money running into several thousands of Ghana cedis. Already, they've started feeling the effect, because the minority leader, together with the leadership of Parliament, were to travel to Bangladesh next week for the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association meeting. The Speaker has cancelled that. The whips were to go to India for a capacity building program. The Speaker has again cancelled that. So they are feeling the effect already. But Parliament is spending so much to hold just this one-day event. But it's also good news for the Electoral Commission, because the CNNT4 that will regulate the elections is 1 day short of coming into law. Yeah. When they sit on Thursday, it will mature, and then the EC can now train their members on the CI.
All right, thank you very much, Elton John Brovis, our parliamentary correspondent. But we're getting on to the phone lines to speak with the law lecturer at the Central University College, Opong. Good evening to you, Mr. Opong.
Good evening, but we are no more college.
You're saying?
We are no more college. University.
Oh, Central University. So, okay, sorry about that. All right, so how do you see this whole process playing out in Parliament?
Well, thank you very much. I listened with bated breath the clairvoyant perspective by your reporter. And if it goes the same way, I will be amazed as to how much he could predict. And it may also have its own other perspective as to whether Parliament can be this much predicted or predictable. Now, if this whole proceeding will end up in proceedings that will lead to the impeachment of the president, then if you may permit me, I'll reiterate what I have said about 3 months ago on this matter. And I'm not going to say that's because these proceedings are going to be filed. I have said it before, that to the extent that, number one, if indeed the president received the forge as a gift in 2012, and even if it constituted a misconduct, and even if that misconduct amounted to or could have amounted to an act that brings the high office of president to disrepute and therefore a ground for impeachment, that act cannot be brought down to this current dispensation as the basis to impeach the president. The point I'm making is that act, even if it was a misconduct, was a misconduct that occurred under different dispensations when the president was the president under the period or during the period which ended on the eve of 7th January 2013, isn't it? And so this current dispensation is a totally different matter. However, if that act was proved to be a criminal act, then criminal proceedings could be brought against the president after he has ceased to be president. To conclude, I'm of the view, and it can be contradicted, that to the extent that we want to bring down an act of the president which occurred in 2012 as a ground to impeach him under this current dispensation, in my view, it cannot be successful.
All right, so even before we get to that, we're looking at the numbers, and the majority clearly has the numbers. can we say that indeed as a majority is saying that this is a waste of the taxpayers' money because they're going to shoot it down?
Well, I will err on the side of caution. I do not believe that members of parliament, being human and being reasonable people with the mandate of the people they represent, should be in the minds of people so predictable that we can say that by all means all the members of the minority are going to vote one way and all the members of the majority are also going to vote another way. I think that may not, respectfully, be a true reflection of how a parliament ought to work, in my own respectful view. Mind you, we are not in a parliamentary system of government where the head of state or the prime minister who forms government is, first of all, a member of parliament, belonging to the parliament with a majority in parliament, and in most cases, he is the leader of parliament. That is not what we are practicing. We are practicing an executive system of government. Some may call it a hybrid. And I say that it is an executive system of government. We have branches of the state, and I don't even call it arms of government. Because government is defined under the Constitution to refer to the exercise of executive power. To that extent, it is possible for members of parliament to vote for or against a matter which is against the executive. And so this expectation of wholesale voting this way if you are minority and that way if you are majority, I think that respectfully it amounts to a diminution of the expectation, the reasonable expectation we should have of a parliament like the one we have in Ghana.
All right. Thank you very much, Yao Opong, law lecturer at the Central University. You're watching Joy News Prime. We're taking a break. We have a lot more stories coming up. Please stay tuned. A Sunyani-based legal practitioner has brought a suit against the Attorney General, questioning the legality of the President's decision to remit the sentence of the 3 persons jailed for the contemptuous remarks against the judiciary. Alfred Tua Yeboah is praying the Supreme Court for a declaration that upon a true and proper interpretation of Article 72 of the 1992 Constitution, the President's power of prerogative of mercy is limited to convictions for criminal offences and does not include convictions for contempt arising from the inherent jurisdiction of the court. The 3, a pro-government radio show host and his 2 panelists, were in July this year jailed by the Supreme Court for scandalizing it. Their sentences were, however, remitted by President Mahama. Lawyer Tua Yeboah, however, believes this was not lawful.
What I'm seeking to do now is to invite the judiciary to review the legal questions that the President sought to answer.
But for you to have a case, certainly there must be a dispute. Exactly what's the dispute in this case?
The dispute is about whether the President, upon true interpretation of Article 70, has the power to either pardon or remit contempt people who have been cited and convicted for contempt. That is the issue. People think that so far as we use the word offense in Article 72, then everything, part of it. Others think that no, the offense there is referable to criminal.
In effect, you are seeking to give the Supreme Court a second bite at this particular cherry, which may lead to some form of a constitutional crisis.
There wouldn't be a constitutional crisis. The Supreme Court is able, or mandated by the Constitution, to interpret the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana.
Now, feeding costs for security personnel on peacekeeping duty at Old Tafo in Kumasi has become a subject of conflict between traditional authorities and public officials there. The Traditional Council is demanding reimbursement of 26,000 Ghana cedis spent on feeding the troops since last February's disturbances in the town. The Regional Coordinating Council, however, says it cannot meet the demand because it never signed up to such a deal with the chiefs. Ohim Interior has more.
About 30 police and military personnel were deployed to maintain order at Old Tafo, where disagreement over erection of a cemetery fence led to some violence. One person died in the clashes and some property, including vehicles, were destroyed. The security personnel were mandated by the Regional Security Council to enforce curfew imposed on residents as well as general order. The Tafo Traditional Council says it has so far spent over 26,000 Ghana cedis to feed the troops, for which it is demanding a refund. Between February and March alone, the council spent 20,646 Ghana cedis of the total amount. The Traditional Council made the demand in a letter dated 3rd March 2016, addressed to the RCC, copied to the National Peace Council and Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly. Tafo Krontihene Nana Ekuaku Frimpong, who speaks for Tafo Hene, has been making a case for the claim in an interview with Inshira FM's Ohementeria. Flanked by the Achiame Hene and the Chidom Hene, he said the council is unhappy about the RCC's handling of the issue. Nana Frimpong wants the presidency to intervene.
Since the troops were stationed here, the chief and elders have been taking care of them. From water they drink to the food they eat, the police chief and some KMA reps came to Nana and asked us to let them know how much we have spent for refund. Some 2 to 3 weeks later, we gave them the cost, but we are yet to receive anything.
Registrar of the Traditional Council, Daniel Kwame Apia, gives some detail about how the debt was incurred.
You're watching Joy News Prime. We're taking a break. We have business news coming up right after. Stay tuned. So it's 99 days to the election, and here on your election headquarters, we've started the countdown. This is the best place to be for everything that has to do with the 2016 elections. And this evening, aggrieved customers of the defunct DKM microfinance company at Bolgatanga in the Upper East region have threatened to vote against President John Mahama and the National Democratic Congress in the December elections if they are not reimbursed monies owed them by the company before it went bust. At a news conference in Bolgatanga, the customers issued a 2-week ultimatum for the liquidation of the properties of DKM so they could get paid. Upper East correspondent Albert Sori reports.
The Upper East region was one of the several regions in Ghana affected by the microfinance scam over a year and a half ago. Hundreds of customers who invested their monies with the DKM microfinance company with the hope of making interest lost everything after a moratorium was placed on the company for failing to follow Bank of Ghana regulations. The company was subsequently closed down. Since then, affected customers have been striving to recover their monies, with several demonstrations and press conferences yielding no results. In this latest press conference held in Bolgatanga, customers of DKM say their living conditions have worsened. The victims reveal the impacts of the scam has affected their personal and family lives to the extent some of them contemplate suicide.
The liquidator requested that we submit proof of indebtedness to DKM within a stipulated time. After collecting our deposit, the liquidator has now sent a definite year to us. We don't hear from them, let alone receive our monies. We hope you are not throwing dust into the eyes of brothers and sisters in this predicament. Can you have any other campaign message for us apart from paying our DKM monies? Nothing matters to us at this very moment than our DKM principal deposits, because we are suffering at the grassroots. Our businesses have collapsed. We are unable to send our children to school. Our marriages are dissolving every now and then. People continue to commit suicide. Others die through frustration and depression. Mr. President, what do you say?
Other aggrieved customers threatened to vote out the governing National Democratic Congress if President Mahama fails to help them retrieve their monies before the December polls.
Due to DKM, some of us are not able to pay our school fees so that we go through education. Some of us are breadwinners of our families.
Also, the Progressive People's Party has promised to build gold refineries in Ghana in order to attract gold investors into the country. According to the PPP's policy advisor, Kofi Asamoah-Sian, this forms part of robust measures the party intends to implement in order to attract and retain foreign currency in Ghana to boost the local economy while creating jobs for the youth.
The Progressive People's Party took its campaign to Obuasi East and Obuasi West constituencies in the Ashanti region, where the party held 2 rallies to preach its economic transformation policies to the people. Mr. Asamoah bemoaned the attitude of past and present governments who rushed into deals that made foreigners exploit Ghana's natural resources, running it quicker than it should be. He was addressing PPP supporters in the town of Tutuka in the Obuasi East constituency.
Or say I don't have jobs for graduates.
Ghanaians have been telling the president, we need jobs. But the president's response was that I do not have jobs for graduates. This was a very disappointing response. We've said many times how to create jobs for the youth, but all of these has fallen on deaf ears. God has given us gold as a country. It doesn't mean we have to sell it without refining it. It requires that we establish gold refineries in areas like Obuasi, where gold is mined, so that foreign businesses can also come to Ghana and trade in gold that has been refined. In 2012, the PPP promised that if we should be voted to form a government, we will build a gold refinery right here in Ghana. This, we believe, is the surest way through which we can maximize the full advantage of the natural resource that God has given us. What do we see in Ghana? Because people have personal interest, we rushed into signing deals that give away our gold and other deposits for which we have nothing to show for. Those of you who live here in Obuasi, how has the gold deposits affected your lives?
Parliamentary candidate for Obuasi East, Frank Abuaje Danyansa, accused the government and Obuasi Municipal Assembly for not creating enough job opportunities for the youth. He touted his achievement as a testament of what a PPP government stands for. He therefore...
Now, it is common to see party supporters engage in all manner of activities in election-nearing periods to garner votes for their candidates. A group of MPP women in Kumasi have taking it a notch higher, washing vehicles for free as a way to win votes. Kwesi Debra has more on this report.
They call themselves Girls for Change, who move from washing bay to the other to provide free service to vehicle owners. I met them at their 5th location on the day. They tell me they had come into contact at least with 500 eligible voters. For 2 months since its formation, Girls for Change has been doing what members describe as symbolic gesture. Jemima Wusu is the president.
Girls. You hear change our Ghana and into near washing castle. You pursue your washing NDC away. Near Mananado, Dr. Mafu Bapawa, and into night Yawahano. And to girls, we rock! Girls!
The Ghana Health Service says it is taking steps to decentralize specialist training for medical officers so as not to completely deprive the health facilities where they work of their services. As part of the new arrangement, Director General Dr. Ebenezer Appiah-Dintra explains medical personnel will no longer leave their duty posts for studies elsewhere. He was addressing a joint oath swearing ceremony for the medical and dental schools of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. Prince Appiah reports.
Details of the proposed decentralized system, which begins this year, are not readily available. Dr. Appiah-Dintra is confident it will improve healthcare delivery, especially in rural communities.
Now we are putting this in place. The Ghana College of Physicians and Surgeons and Ghana Health Service are working together to decentralize specialist training. And we started with physician family physicians. So you'll be in that district, starting in 26 this year, you'll be in that district, and then we move faculty there, and you'll also be coming around, and then you get your specialization. Now it's time for us to do that.
The Director General also urged KNUST to adapt hospitals in various districts in Ashanti region as training centers.
By adopting Mampong Hospital, yesterday I was there, such a large hospital. Mampong Hospital, Agogo Hospital, Sunyani Hospital, all of them, it can be medical school complex, and you spread your tentacles over there.
176 newly trained medical doctors, 98 males and 78 females graduated. In addition, 90 dental surgeons, 8 of them females, were inducted. The spark of the ceremony was the announcement of 2 females as overall best students for both groups. Fatima Karim swept 12 out of 15 awards at the School of Medical Sciences to emerge the ultimate. For the dental school, Louisa Anson Kwache won all, but one of 6 honors up for grabs. Vice-Chancellor Professor Kwesi Obridanso advised the new doctors to look beyond their degrees.
Not only end up becoming doctors and medical officers as they will call themselves, but will all take up the challenge of improving yourselves even further. Because in the world that we currently live in, being a medical officer alone cannot carry you forward. You need to take your professional practice seriously, work to become members of the council and eventually fellows, and there's a need for higher degrees so that you can come and join us in the medical school.
For Joy News, Prince Apia reporting.
The Pilgrims Affairs Office of the Ghana Hajj Board has confirmed that some 39 Ghanaian female pilgrims have been repatriated from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia even before the pilgrimage starts. 9 of the repatriated pilgrims are said to be minors, whilst 30 are said to be inappropriately categorized as embarking on the pilgrimage without a guardian. But speaking to Joy News, a member of the Communication Directorate of the Hajj Board, Al-Hassan Suyini, said its outfit is confident it could resolve the anomaly and also airlift all registered prospective pilgrims to the Holy Land of Mecca. Joy News' Latif Idris has more.
In relation to the pilgrims who were repatriated, the requirement in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is that a female, Hajj ought to be accompanied by a male adult if she is less than 40 years. That is their requirement. And by our arrangement, we have always met it. And this happened with the 9th flight. And it happened because at the time information was sought on these pilgrims, it was not readily available. And that is why the authorities had to do what was practicable at the time. Because if they couldn't get the information, they had to repatriate them. The arrangement is such that we are not always able to get the guardians on the same flight with these, female pilgrims. It may be that the guardian is on another flight and might have already arrived ahead of time, and she is on this particular flight. But there's usually information to that effect. But
is that the practice?
That's what happens. I mean, this is not the first time they have repatriated pilgrims. It doesn't happen often, but it has happened before. As we speak, I know that the ambassador here in Ghana, the Saudi ambassador here in Ghana, is working, effectively with our chairman, Honorable Ibrahim Rauf Tanko, to rectify the situation.
Okay, you're talking about the fact that we are left with the last flight, but the numbers here are very huge. Are you sure you'll be able to take care of all these prospective pilgrims?
Don't be deceived by the numbers here. Sometimes one pilgrim comes here with about 6-7 relatives who are just here to escort him or her.
Right up next, we bring you entertainment.